Welcome to your Daily 5 for Monday, September 2nd, 2024. If you have come across any reviews for they describe it often as a horror film, but I wouldn't, but I'll just use that until I correct the term. Actually, no, I'll just say what I think it is. If you've seen anything or read anything about the crime thriller Longlegs, it has likely been... Well, number one, there have been some wildly divisive reviews on it. I've seen people saying it's the scariest thing they've ever seen and it's a great film, and other people saying that it's just a boring Silence of the Lambs ripoff. And I also saw quite a few things, and you probably have too, like I said, if you've read about this film, about Nick Cage's performance and how it's another signature Nick Cage performance. So I thought, okay, this sounds too interesting not to see. Plus, I've always heard good things about Oz Perkins films. I've seen some images and some clips from them. I've never actually watched one, but I've always appreciated the visual style that I saw at work, so I thought, all right, let me watch this thing. It became available to rent digitally. I don't know exactly when, probably within the last week or two. And I watched the movie, and having just watched it, it's definitely, there's a couple things to say about what I've seen and read in different places. Number one is, if you come into this movie expecting some kind of unhinged Nick Cage performance, you are going to be disappointed. I frankly do not understand why so many people are fixated on his performance in this film. Now, they definitely gave him a distinct visual look. He is speaking with a specific voice. I don't know whether that was his decision or whether that's what they wanted. But it does not feel like it doesn't belong in the film. It makes sense. Is it memorable? Yes. Is it distinct? Yes. Does it feel like Vampire's Kiss or something? No. It feels like it is a cohesive part of the film. So I'm really kind of baffled that so many people got hung up on it. I really don't understand that because I kept waiting for some big scene where he just went insane, and it never happened. It never really arrived. Instead, it just felt like he was one more character in a very well-made, atmospheric crime thriller that has some horror elements. I wouldn't even really call it a horror film. So when people say it's the scariest film they've ever seen, they probably mean it in terms of the tension, which is very well done. I think it is a very effective, slow-burn thriller. I don't think it's a ripoff of Silence of the Lambs, as also some people have labeled it. There are overlapping elements, there are echoes, but it's not like Silence of the Lambs owns the idea of a crime thriller with a female lead. So I don't get that either. I had a really good time with it because it is a beautifully shot film. I love the use of light and dark and color. The soundtrack is employed in really interesting ways. The sound design itself, things, noises and specific transitional elements are really well done. I understand why Oz Perkins has a good reputation as a director. It makes me want to go watch some of his previous work, which I will likely do. But again, all the discussion over this movie seems so warped and blown out of proportion that I think what it did was really hurt the film because, again, if you went into this expecting some kind of lunatic Nick Cage thing, you're going to be let down. If you come in and you think it's going to terrify you, I really don't think that's the intent, nor do I think that's what it does. There are jump scares here and there. It certainly has its horrific elements, but this does feel like depending on how you want to interpret it, a psychological thriller or just a story about a person who is a little out of the mainstream that is involved in a very disturbing crime case. That's really what it is. I think it's great. I had a great time with it. I would highly recommend it to anybody who does like crime thrillers, or if you like Silence of the Lambs, I'll say this, you will probably like this. It goes in a different direction, certainly, than Silence of the Lambs did. I won't say any more than that until Friday. But the discussion around this, I think, has done it a disservice because I think it sets up unrealistic expectations in a number of ways. Just go into it and expect to get a good, well-shot crime thriller that has a lot of memorable imagery and some really interesting performances in general all over the place. And I think you're going to have a really good time. Because, again, I went in and I wasn't sure what I was going to get. In fact, in some ways, the wildness of the differences in the reviews might have helped me because I read so many different things. I went in and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. And so I just kind of enjoyed it for what it was. So it's available for digital rental today at the $20 fee. I was happy paying that. I think it was well worth it. But at some point, if you can see this, see it later.